What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is going to be a video with my initial thoughts and reaction on a recent post about the former drummer from Slipknot, Weinberg. Why am I making a video on this? I just think this is something interesting that would definitely be helping me think with my own reaction and points of view on the things that Jay has been saying through a podcast he did do with Toby Morse called One Life, One Chance. And there was a point in the podcast about his own experiences of what he was going through in therapy, as well as to go through the aftermath why he was fired from Slipknot in the end. And I know some of you guys would be saying the same thing about Slipknot being bad people. They have made a bad choice. They shouldn't have fired Jay. Jay deserved better. Well, to tell you the truth, I've made a video with the reasons why Jay was fired from the band. Even though that was quite a risky video, I did in the end decide to do. Do feel free to check out that video so that maybe it would give you the better mindset and the reaction. But in all seriousness, this is really interesting to read out from what Jay has been speaking about. So basically, Jay was going through his time in therapy, and there were some points that he would not at the moment decide to say how he really felt about his time with Slipknot since the past 10 years in his life and career as a drummer. But I am really interested for him to speak about that whole thing, maybe in the later months of this year or next year. Who knows? This is what Jay said through some of the things he spoke about from the podcast. Truth be told, I'm at kind of a point where I'm not quite yet really ready to talk about the split, really. And that's not to dismiss the conversation, but I've spent time just processing the entire experience. And the experience not being the last 6 months, but really the last 10 years. I have a fantastic therapist who helps me. Before I speak on it, it's important for me to do the right work of processing these events that, you spent 10 years exclusively committed to one thing. There's a lot to process that on the other side, and I think there is definitely a time where I'll speak to my lived experience over those 10 years, just not quite yet. I think what Jay did address there has been giving me more of the time to think about it, because yes, Jay's sacking from Slipknot was a huge shock, and the Slipknot fans went completely ballistic and overreacted very negatively, in my opinion, to target the band with just this big bunch of repetitive, hateful comments and excuses. I just wish there are people who would be diving this with more research and information. But with what Jay said about the experiences, to look back, I have a lot of respect and admiration for Jay, that he clearly did decide that he wants to open up and to be brave with what he is going to eventually be sharing with his own emotions. Slipknot did go through a lot with Jay, both positively and negatively. There were some moments from the band's time with Jay that things were getting really bad and out of hand. Even prior to when Jay was sacked from the band, Jim Root did say that there was that lack of chemistry. And when I was watching the Hell and Heaven show that they did last year, I knew something was completely wrong when I was listening to the performance of the band, not just on Jay's drumming, but through, as Jim pointed out, that lack of chemistry and the way the sound of the songs were turning out to be from their performances. But it's more or less, I think, around the behavior side of things. There's one thing I want to point out right now that I decided to share whilst I'm editing this video. There is going to be this noticeable difference to think about from who Jay was with the previous time before he became Slipknot's drummer, being in two bands from Madball and Against Me in his career from the last decade. It was such a shame that it was so inevitably difficult and volatile because of the actions and behavior from Jay's personality, as both vocalists from Madball and Against Me shared their difficulty, even though Jay did say that he decided to quit Madball and with different reasons. I think it is a moment to think about now where we all have to overcome and move on from the past. I know Slipknot did give Jay the boot because of behavior, lack of chemistry, and difficult to deal with circumstances, and it's not Slipknot's fault at all. At the end of the day, I know there's that saying of it is what it is, but with Jay's new experiences of going through such a successful therapy session so far, which I'm very happy about to know that, it is completely okay to self-reflect and improve yourself on personal growth, learn from these mistakes. You know, behaviors can be very different with one another, and it is such a big important part that mental health and growth of who you want to be as a person does come first. Just like with Corey Taylor, because he has been another very bad victim around his own demons and mental health, like what happened to him a few months ago when he had to cancel his upcoming tour because he was going to go through this relapse at his worsening state, and now he's back up in full swing, full of positivity and happiness, and Jay is pretty much doing exactly the same thing. We know Jay has been a very well beloved, successful drummer. He has been awarded endless amounts of times. Many fans of Slipknot praised him a lot, and even a lot of drummers, now that Slipknot is, in my opinion, getting better and, you know, working harder professionally than ever, it's like that the band are growing to be sounding like old school Slipknot and to move forward now that they've got Eloy as their full-time drummer, and Jay being happy and full of positivity again, moving into his own direction as a continuing professional drummer, working with different musicians and maybe some future projects with different people. I'm really pleased that Jay is in a better mindset. Obviously, with me giving the admiration for Slipknot, I do share the admiration for Jay as well. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.